शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यं मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणो रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते योगेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरोर्भ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपरिजाताय स्तोत्रवैत्रैकपाणिने ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतादुहे नमः। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We are studying Bhakti-sastri, Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. In this section, verses 9.11 to 9.25, Lord Krishna is going to talk about the different types of people who worship him in different ways. The impersonalists, the demigod worshippers, the Gyanis, the Mayavadis, and the pure devotees. So, verse 13 and 14, which we are going to start with today, talk about Mahatma, a great soul, pure devotee of Krishna. 9.13 talks about them. So, very interesting section for us to understand great souls, Mahatmas. So, who are those Mahatmas? What makes them a Mahatma? What are their activities? That is all described in these two verses. 9.13 Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritimashitaha. I'll open it for you all to see. So Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakriti Ashritaha Vajanti Ananya Manaso Gyatma Bhutadimavyam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, deluded by what? Those who are not deluded by Maya Shakti of Krishna. The great souls are under the protection of the divine nature, Devim Prakritim, divine nature, also known as Antaranga Shakti of Krishna. So Krishna has three energies, we know them, the Antaranga, the Bahiranga, and the Tatastha. So the Tatastha Shakti, which is the Jivas, they can be either in control of the Antaranga Shakti or the Bahiranga Shakti, right? Isn't it? Hmm? So Devim Prakriti means Antaranga Shakti. So, a son of Pita, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Avyayam, one who does not have any vyaya, means there is no decrease in him. Right? Kyatva bhutadim avyayam. Purport. In this verse, a description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the seventh chapter. One who surrenders into the Supreme Personality of Goddess Sri Krishna at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. Which verse was that? 7.14. Devi hi esha gunmayi mama maya duratyaya mama eva ye prapadyante maya metam tarandite. Right? So, uh, that is someone who is surrenders to Krishna, he becomes free from the control of this Maya Shakti of Krishna. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of God. That is a preliminary formula. So, Atma Samarpana, surrenders his soul means Atma Samarpana. That is a preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. That means that the jiva, as tatastha, cannot remain independent. Is either dependent on the internal potency or the external potency. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Devi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. Hmm. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There's no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma, a great soul, develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. So, how do you become a Mahatma? By association with other Mahatmas. Just like how do I become a Duratma? By association with Duratmas. So, how do I become Mahatma? By association with other Mahatmas. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. Means those pure devotees who are completely pure, they are not attracted even to the four-armed Vishnu form. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. So every word has a definition, but that definition is based on who is giving the definition and in what context that person is giving the definition. Someone can use this Mahatma very loosely, but Krishna uses this word in a particular manner. For Krishna, who is a Mahatma? A pure devotee of Krishna is a Mahatma. For general people, someone can be Mahatma, but that is not the definition that Krishna gives in Bhagavad-Gita about a Mahatma. Hmm. So, regarding this, we can always, okay, we'll first go to the next verse, then we'll come to this point. So, in the next verse, 9.14, then the qualities of such a Mahatma are further described. What does he do? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha jadavataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, right? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridvrataha. Dridvrata means the vrata is very dhrida, means lot of determination. So endeavoring with great determination. Bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So that person is always chanting Krishna's glories. That person is always endeavoring with great determination. That person bows down only before Krishna. Means that person surrenders only to Krishna, not to any demigods, not to any human being. And these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. They always worship Krishna with great devotion. Yes, let's read the purport. Arati Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, is Prabhu? Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him. Such a Mahatma has first firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activity, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined. Fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live his life in devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world. He can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Thank you.
Yes. So the Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. So Srila Prabhupada is indirectly here pointing to whom? He's pointing to Gandhiji, the personality whom we refer as the father of the nation in India. So he's saying that just because someone is calling him Mahatma, he doesn't become a Mahatma. Why? Because the symptoms of Mahatma, the characteristics are given here by Lord Krishna, right? So this is very important. Uh, but you see, we have to understand this thing that in a social setup, even if someone is called a Mahatma, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes devotees they don't understand the intent of the message and they only take it in a very superficial manner. Like, for example, if Gandhiji is not to be referred as a Mahatma, then some one may debate, should we really call him as Mahatma Gandhi or should we call him as Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi or should we call him as just Gandhi? How do we do that? So it doesn't matter. How do you call him? That doesn't matter. Whether you call him as Mahatma Gandhi or you call him as MK Gandhi or Gandhiji, that doesn't matter. But the point to understand is that he was not a Mahatma. Hmm. So how do you call someone? That's not as relevant as how do you feel about that person, right? So in a social setup, we may call Gandhiji as Mahatma Gandhi. Even Prabhupada sometimes referred to him as Mahatma Gandhi, you know. But he didn't really see him as a Mahatma, though he referred to him as Mahatma Gandhi because that was the common name. Society used to call him like that, or still calls him like that. So one cannot become a Mahatma just by being rubber stamped like that. One needs to exhibit those qualities. And what are those qualities are explained here by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, isn't it? Huh? So now, regarding Gandhiji, we know very well that he was not such a great devotee as it was promoted or advertised. He was not a very, he was okay. I mean, he was not even a very religious person. He had his own ideas of how we should live our life, but he was not really a very religious person or a strong devotee of Lord Ramchandra or Lord Krishna. Those are only stories that we hear that he died chanting the name of Ram, Hey Ram. So those are not really true stories. They are for propaganda, political propaganda. Those stories were made up. So Srila Prabhupada wrote a very historic letter on December 7, 1947 to Gandhiji. Very interesting, that Prabhupada actually was always after him, trying to convince him that you please propagate this message of Bhagavad-Gita, that Gandhiji never listened to Srila Prabhupada's advices. So here this letter is there. I like this letter very much because it shows us how Srila Prabhupada had a very strong preaching attitude. Plus, he was bold and he did not really, compromise when he wanted to tell the truth to people. So EC is also saying, calling Gandhiji as Mahatma Ji. Be a friend, Mahatma Ji. Please accept my respectful namaskar. Um, I'm your unknown friend, but I had to write to you at times and again, uh, although you never cared to reply them. Hmm. I sent you my papers back to Goddard, but your secretaries told me that you have very little time to read the letters and much less for reading the magazines. I asked for an interview with you, but your busy secretaries never cared to reply this. Anyway, as I am your very old friend, although unknown to you, I am writing to you in order to bring you to the rightful position deserved by you. As a sincere friend, I must not deviate from my duty towards a friend like your good self. I tell you as a sincere friend that you must immediately retire from active politics if you do not desire to die an inglorious death. How interesting it is, that Srila Prabhupada is kind of warning him that if you continue like this, you'll die an inglorious death. And that's what happened. Just the next year, Gandhiji got shot. You have 125 years to live as you have desired to live. But if you die inglorious death, it is no worth. It continues, it's a pretty long letter. The honor and prestige that you have obtained during the course of your present lifetime were not possible to be obtained by anyone else within the living memory. But you must know that all these honors and prestiges were false inasmuch as they were created by the illusory energy of Godhead called the Maya. I would only request you to retire from politics at least for a month only, and let us have discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. I am sure thereby that you shall get a new light from the results of such discussions, not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of the world at large, as I know that you are sincere, honest, and a moralist. Awaiting your early reply with interest, yours sincerely, Abhay Charande. So very interesting letter by Prabhupada to Gandhi. So this Hey Ram is not correct. He did not chant Hey Ram. This was just to promote the idea that Gandhiji supported Hindus more than Muslims. Therefore, this story was made up. How is it possible to chant Krishna's name at time of death if one has not practiced it throughout one's life? Not possible. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam त्यजति ante kalevaram tam tamiveti kaunteya sada bhava bhavitaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So one needs to practice. Did Gandhiji practice? Of course not. He was busy in politics. So he did not practice that. So therefore, that's not possible. Okay. Uh, okay. Next verse. 9.15. ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्. Others who engage in service by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. So here three types of jnanis are mentioned in this verse. Ekatvena, pritatvena, bahuda, vishvato, mukham. Hmm? Three types of jnanis are mentioned here. Ekatvena, pritatvena, bahuda, vishvato, mukham. So they are all impersonalists, but different types of impersonalists. And, or you can say mixture. So they worship the Lord. Um, Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge, jnana yagya, worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second. That is ekatvena, as diverse in many, pritatvena, and in the universal form, vishvato mukham. So Gita talks about all three these types, no? It talks about all three of them in different places. Where do we get their information? It's given here. So Vishwato Mukham means Vishwarupa Upasana. In English, it is called pantheism, worshipping the universe as the supreme absolute. 9.16 to 19 talks about it, and chapter 11 entirely talks about that, the universal form. Then Pritatvena, which means worshipping the absolute in diverse forms. It's called Pratikopasana, also known as polytheism. Everyone is God. Indra, Chandra, Surya, Shiva, Vishnu, same. And then there is Ekatvena. which is discussed already in 9.11 and 12, and then further also it will be spoken in 12.1 to 5. It's called Ahangropasana, monism. So these are indirect worships. But Sukritinaha and Mahatma, they are monotheistic, direct worship. Right? It's a very nice table which talks about the different types of worshippers. Okay, let's read. Shweta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This verse is the summary of previous verses. The Lord tell Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are persons who are not exactly in position of Mahatma but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in cultivation of knowledge. But there are those who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Second, he who concocts some form of Supreme Lord and worships that. Third, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monist, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body but are actually spirit soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalist worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be form of the Supreme Lord. And third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord. Prabhu, upwards. Okay, it is finished.
So these verses now 16 to 20 talk about the universal form worship. Um, Aham kratur aham yagyah swadhaham aham oshadham mantroham aham evajam aham agnir aham hutam. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering.
Mhm. The
So this is
shall
very
I read?
similar to this is very just a second. This is very similar to how Krishna will explain in chapter 11. I am I am this, I am that of the different, um, expansions he shows. So here it's explained in that way that because everything is coming from this universe, so Krishna is everywhere. I mean, let's not confuse it with the Krishna as person from Golok Vrindavan. We are talking about the absolute truth. So here that That approach is given that because the universe is itself the supreme absolute, so everything which is part of the universe is also that supreme absolute. Therefore, in that sense, he says, I am this, I am that, meaning that he's everywhere, he's all pervasive. Everything should be seen as Brahman. That's why this approach is taken. And then in the next verses also same thing will continue. The same style of telling, right? Okay, yes, read Shweta.
Prabhuji, how monotheist can be direct worshipper to Lord? They are saying, I am the Lord. So if I am the Lord, that is ego.
Indirect worship. Who's indirect worship? Monotheism is not that. Monotheism and monist are two different things.
Huh.
Monism means I am God. Monotheistic means I believe in one God.
Monotheist means I am God.
Monist, not monotheist. Monist.
So, like they said, first worship who consider I am God. So,
From,
is that
from,
right?
from the purport, you are asking Prabhupada's purport.
Yeah. First, first is he who worships himself as one with the.
As one with the Supreme Lord here doesn't necessarily mean that that person is actually saying I am God. Basically, I am Brahman, and the Lord is also Brahman. So with that idea, that person worships oneself. So this is also
And
type of God worship.
this is monist is like such people have the mentality to worship themselves.
Yes.
So this is a God worship. They are saying at least they know I am spirit soul. So,
Yeah, so to some extent it is correct. It's not fully correct, but to some extent it is correct.
but if I say I am God, I can't justify it.
You can
Uh,
justify also.
that is cheating.
Try to understand what Prabhupada is saying. No, everything has to be understood from different angles. That is correct that you are not God exactly, completely. But in some ways you are God also because you have the qualities. So in that way, so we have to see things in proper context. Here, that's what Prabhupada is saying here. It is also a one type of God worship. So he is not saying it is also God worship. He's saying it is also a type of God worship. Why? Because they can understand their non-material body, but actually spirit soul. So if they are not completely right, but they are not completely wrong also. So if you have to do a relative analysis, then compared to them, the Vaishnavas are right. But then they are also not fully wrong.
Okay, so monists are not pure devotees.
No, cannot be.
Okay, that is different thing you wrote. Okay,
That is that is monotheist, not monist.
okay, okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Purport. Darshan Vishnu Prabhuji, please read.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The Vedic sacrifice, known as Jyotishoma, is also Krishna and is also the Mahayagna mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to the Pitruloka or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitruloka considered as kind of drug in the form of clarified butter is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in the connection are also Krishna. And many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices is also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna. because fire is one of the material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Krishna Kanda, Karma Kanda, division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or, in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas.
Yes. So Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain this in a Krishna conscious manner, actually. That's how Srila Prabhupada does everywhere. He tries to show how everything is coming from Krishna in that way. We should not literally think that butter is also Krishna, mantra is also Krishna. No. The message being conveyed here is because everything is coming from Krishna, then one can see like that. Mhm. So we should not take every single statement in a literal manner, but what is the intent behind speaking those statements should be taken. So everything is coming from Krishna, and that's why everything is Krishna. In that way, it's explaining. Next verse, 9.17. Pitahamasya jagato mata dhata pitamahah Vedyam Pavitram Omkara Riksama Yajurevacha. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sam, and Yajur Vedas. Yes, Varshana Niva Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word dhata means creator. Not only are our father, mother parts and parcel of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc., are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Veda is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which help us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all the Vedic principle is also part and parcel of Krishna and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig, Atharva, the Pranava or the Omkara is a very prominent, it is understood to be Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Gatir Bharata Ghatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasah Sharanam Suhrit Prabhavah Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Purport. Sri Lakshmi.
Hare Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gati means destination where we want to go. But the ultimate goal of Krishna, although people do not know it, one who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of strict respective methods, which reach different planets known as Chandraloka, Suryaloka, Indraloka, Maharloka, etc. But all such lokas or planets being creations of Krishna are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Such planets being manifestations of Krishna's energy are also Krishna, but actually they serve only a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of the building by the help of elevator, why should one go by the staircase step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is supreme witness. The countries, or the planets in which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna, either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is the supreme living entity, and since Krishna is the source of our generation and Supreme Father, no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes. Hare Krishna.
20. Tapamyaham aham varsham nighrinamitsrijami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha asajjaham arjuna. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Hmm. Yes, Vardhani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky, and then during the rainy season, he gives uh, unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavan as two-handed Shyam Sundara playing on a flute are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, can you,
Yes.
last paragraph, can you explain it properly? It is matter and spirit both. Krishna.
Because everything is coming from him, no? Matter is also
Mm,
coming from him.
Okay.
That's why.
So, but pastimes on earth are real only, na Prabhuji. It is with Supreme Personality of Godhead only, na. Uh,
Which
or
one's right?
it is look, pastimes which happened 5,000 years ago. So, it is uh, it is like with the Supreme Personality of Godhead only, na. Or means imitation of him.
Where is it written imitation of him?
Not written. I'm just asking. It came in my mind.
Mhm. No, it's real
No.
only.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Next verse. So this section gets over here, the section of Krishna being described as the universal form. Now, new section begins. Traividyamang somapaha put papa yagyerishtva sargatim prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhutan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So now this section talks about demigod worship. Or worshipping them as Bhagavan only. So that is also indirect form of worship. Chanakya Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The word Traividyaha refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purpose of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the three Vedis. Actual Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower qualities of nature and are thereby elevated to the higher planetary systems or heavenly planets known as Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tetang bhuktva sargalokam vishalam shine punye martyalokam vishanti evam trai dharmamanu prapanna gatagatam kama kama labante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So the same point is being repeated here about demigod worship. That if you are inclined to that, then the highest benefit one can get is go to heaven, spend some time there, and then come back to earthly planet. So that is not very intelligent thing to do then, because one will be born again and suffer again. Purport.
Shall I continue to read, Prabhuji?
Okay, you can.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadyasyataha, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then again coming down, as if situated on a Ferris wheel which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge and never return to this miserable material existence. Hare Krishna.
Fine. So, because Lord Krishna is talking about worshipping the demigods and then getting a temporary result. He also spoke about it in chapter 7, where even in 8 and 7 also, like you go to heavenly planet, you stay for some time, you come back here to planet Earth. So you don't get permanent enjoyment or eternal enjoyment. So in verse 22, then it's going to give a contrast. If those who worship Krishna, how are they favored by Krishna? How Krishna takes care of them. And in comparison to that, those who worship the demigods, how the demigods can't really help them. So we have so many pastimes in different places, Puranas, Itihasas, that how the worshippers of demigods, they could not be saved by the demigod, even from death. That person had to die. And interestingly, Krishna only killed such people, and that those demigods could not come to protect their devotees. But when Krishna's devotee gets into trouble, then Krishna comes and protects that devotee. There's so many such examples. Like, for example, Hiranyakashipu was a devotee of Lord Brahma, and Prahlad was a devotee of Narsingadev. So who got killed? Hiranyakashipu got killed. Brahma could not protect him. There are many such examples. Devotees of Shiva, they get killed by Vishnu or Krishna, and Shiva is not able to protect them, isn't it? But is there even one example where a devotee of Krishna has been killed by a demigod? No example. They don't find any such example. Hmm. So that's why in verse 22, Krishna gives this contrast. He says, Ananayaschintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga shrimam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Mm. So I personally take care of them. I personally serve them. That's what Krishna means to say. Those who exclusively worship him with devotion. Krishna is then very much their caretaker, their provider. He does everything for them. Ananayaschintayantamam. So, like previously Krishna mentioned, I am father, I am mother, I am grandfather, I am friend, I am protector, I am the beginning, I am the end. So for such a devotee, Krishna actually personally does that he becomes the father, he becomes the mother, he becomes everything. Why? Because they are so much dependent on him. Hmm. So this example is given now. Parent may have many children, but that child who fully depends on the parent, then the parent also fully takes care of that child. That because this child is dependent on me, I have to give more attention to this child. So similarly, a devotee who feels like that, completely dependent on the Lord, then the Lord also feels like completely taking care of that devotee. Hmm. So then the Lord will personally take so much of interest. Otherwise, the Lord will not take interest because the Lord sees that this devotee of mine has taken shelter of so many different things. So he doesn't want my exclusive shelter. So that's why Krishna is also not interested in giving that exclusive shelter to such a person. You know, purport.
I can
Yes,
read
someone
again,
else.
Prabhuji.
Okay.
No, I
Fine.
want
If you
to read.
refer,
You read twice. I want to read.
sure, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies which make the devotee perfect in self realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to material condition of life. Sima refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life. Hare Krishna.
Mhm. So Krishna protects. And Krishna protects what? Krishna can protect anything and everything for a devotee. But that doesn't mean that uh, uh, Krishna will protect the body of the devotee or the wealth of the devotee. He may not. That is not what it means that Krishna will protect everything. But basically, what he will surely protect is the consciousness of that devotee, right? That's what he will protect for sure. Sometimes he may not protect the body, and the devotee may suffer externally or die. But that's okay. A devotee will not expect also from Krishna for such things. But Krishna will definitely protect the consciousness of that devotee. And that is what Prabhupada mentions here. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life. Ananaya's Chintayanto.
I asked question in chat box. Can you reply?
Since we are Krishna devotees, so astrological remedy should be followed or not. Depends on you how much faith you have. Because when you say we are Krishna devotee, then Krishna's devotees are not all same. There are different types of devotees with different levels of faith. So what is your level of faith? If your faith is very strong, then no need to follow. But if your faith is not that strong, then you can follow. Right. Okay. 9.23. येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्ति यवतिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods and worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti. But they do so in a wrong way. Why they worship Krishna only? Because they are also coming from Krishna, no? But it is wrong way of worship. Why is it wrong? Because if you put water at the leaves, not at the root of the tree, then it's a wrong way of watering. It's not the correct way of watering. So that's why it is a wrong way of worshipping. The result will not be then proper. Because if I am watering the leaf, then I have to water each and every leaf. Correct. Isn't it? If I water only two leaves of the plant, then how will the other leaves be benefited? First thing. Second thing, even if I water all the leaves of the tree, but I don't put water in the root, still the tree will not get nourishment completely. So if one is thinking I'll satisfy some demigods, but I not serve Krishna, who is the root, then that worship is not proper and it's not complete. Purport. Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhu. You have to unmute yourself. Sankarshan Vishnu. Sankarshan Vishnu Prabhuji, you have to unmute yourself. Unmute. Hmm.
Shall I read for now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Persons who are engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent. Although such worship is offered to me indirectly, Krishna says, for example, when a man pours water on leaves and branches of tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers or directors in the government of Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officer or the directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officer or directors is illegal. This is stated here as avidhi purvakam. So, in other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of demigods. Hare Krishna.
Krishna does not approve. But Krishna was telling to Arjuna in chapter 3 about, this whole cycle of sacrifice. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yagyat bhavati parjanyo yagya karma sambhutbhavaha. So there he said that I made the humans and I made the demigods. And I also made the process of yagya by which the humans can satisfy the demigods and then the demigods can in return fulfill the basic needs of the humans. That's what Krishna said in chapter 3. So there he was kind of telling Arjuna that one should perform sacrifice to the demigods, isn't it? Because you have to be grateful to them. They are giving you so many things, rains, sun, rivers, all those things are coming to you from the demigods. So you should satisfy them. You should be grateful towards them, do some yagyas. But now here Krishna is telling, no, it's not required. It's not needed. So what do we understand from that then?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, their Lord is giving a very low level of motivation, or Lord is telling that if you are not doing anything, just at least do these things. This will from by doing those things, you will come to me. And here, as this is the most confidential knowledge, so Lord is revealing Himself. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Very good. So in Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand that Krishna is speaking to through Arjuna to people of different levels. He's not giving knowledge for one type of people only. He's talking to different types of people. He's speaking to all of them. So and this is called adhikari bheda. Many times when we study the Shastras, scriptures, we get confused. In one place, this is being promoted. In another place, this is being criticized. In one place, this is told as the supreme most. In another place, it is said as something very insignificant. Why? Because there is a concept called Adhikari Bheda. Adhikari Bheda means, as a student, what is your adhikar? What is your qualification? Not everything applies to everyone, you know. So for someone who is so ignorant about a higher authority, who does not even accept that there is a higher being, for them the first step is you be little grateful for the rain, for the food, for the sunlight, for the wind that you are getting. But for someone who knows all that very naturally, then for that person, he can go to a further step, a higher step. So Krishna is here then refuting that thing. So this is something which you'll find in all the scriptures, specifically in the entire Vedas. This is always there. A particular level of surrender to God is explained, but further on when you study, you will find that that same level of surrender is rejected. Then a higher level is proposed. Then after some time, you'll find that that higher level is also rejected. Then a further higher level is proposed. So this is because of adhikar, qualification. Hmm. So here Krishna is saying it's not needed. For those who are devotees of Krishna, it's not required to worship the demigods. But those who are not devotees of Krishna, they are worshipping the demigods, no problem. It's good. They're not worshipping anyone. Let them worship. No problem in that. Hmm. But for devotees of Krishna, it's not needed. So this is very important. When we study the scriptures, we should also study it with adhikari bhed. That for whom does this apply? So Krishna, after telling that, he says in verse number 24, Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha na tumam abhijananti tatvena tascha vantite. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Hmm.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes, please.
Here it is clearly stated that there are many types of yajna, performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yajna means Vishnu. In, uh, in the third chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, it is clearly stated that one should only work for satisfying Yajna or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization, known as Varnashram Dharma, is especially meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says in this verse, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the Supreme Master. Less intelligent persons, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall at down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for the Supreme Lord, although that is not pure devotion, and he will thus achieve the desired result.
Yes, he will achieve the divine result. Yanti deva vrata deva pitrin yanti vrataha bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors call them the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Hmm. So different paths take us to different goals. That is very clear from this verse. Not that all paths lead to the same goal, right? So here four types of worship are mentioned. Worshipping the demigods comes in mode of goodness. Worshipping the ancestors comes in the mode of passion. Worshipping ghosts and spirits comes in the mode of ignorance. And worshipping the Supreme Lord comes in pure goodness, transcendental. Right? Hmm. So those who worship demigods, they are going to heavenly planets. Surya, Chandra. Those who worship the ancestors, they will be born in Pita planet. Pita means Pitraloka. Those who worship ghosts and spirits, they will be born in a different species of Yaksha, Rakshasa, Pisacha. And those who worship Krishna will go to Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka, supreme transcendence.
Prabhuji, can I ask one thing related to this?
Yes, please ask Mataji.
Uh, Prabhuji, always we are told in India that we should श्राद्ध आते हैं ना, तो we should worship pitras, we should give food to pitra, otherwise we will get, if we don't do this we will get pitra dosh. In kundali pitra dosh would be there.
Hmm.
So but you are saying, I don't know, worship to here pitras means what, or that is what. So what is the difference, means, can you please explain over this, how we should
We
carry
discussed all
pitra?
this in chapter 1 when we discussed chapter 1, we discussed about Shraddha ceremony and all that. So worship offering Shraddha ceremony to Pitris does not mean you're worshipping the Pitris. You're offering them Vishnu Prasadam. So it's not worshipping them. Worshipping them is a different thing. Pure Shraddha is a different thing.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Shraddha is you're giving them Krishna Prasad, Vishnu Prasad. So that is not worship. Worship means you actually worship them. Like so many people do. My Bhagavan is my mother. My Bhagavan is my father. Nothing beyond that. So that is worship. Or people also worship other humans like some sports star, some movie star, some great rich man. So that is human worship. So one will be born again back same place where they belong. So that is the idea. Next, purport. You're supposed to read the purport. Rutvija Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji. If one has any desire to go to the moon, the sun, or any other planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles recommended for that purpose, such as the process technically known as Darsha Paurnamasi. These are vividly described in the fruitive activities portion of the Vedas, which recommends a specific worship of demigods situated on different heavenly planets. Similarly, one can attain the Pita planets by performing a specific yagna. Similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a yaksha, rakshasa, or Raksha or Pishacha. Pishacha worship is called black arts or black magic. There are many men who practice this black art and they think that it is spiritualism, but such activities are completely materialistic. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead only achieves the planets of Vaikunta and Krishna Loka without a doubt. It is very easy to understand through this important verse that if by simply worshipping the demigods one can achieve the heavenly planets, or by worshipping the Pitas achieve the Pita planets, or by practicing the black arts achieve the ghostly planets, why can the pure devotee not achieve the planet of Krishna or Vishnu? Unfortunately, many people have no information of these sublime planets where Krishna and Vishnu live, and because they do not know of them, they fall down. Even the impersonalists fall down from the Brahma Jyoti. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. So Srila Prabhupada is using a common logic here. That if by worshipping these personalities, one can go to their destination, then why can't one go back home, back to order to Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka by worshipping Krishna? One can attain that destination also. Like if people believe that if they do some punya and they can go to heaven, then they should also believe that if they do bhakti, they can go to Vaikuntha or they can go to Krishna Loka. So he's using that logic to explain that one should not doubt this thing. One can go to Krishna Loka. 9.26. So that section gets completed. Demigod worship or worshipping the Lord in many forms. Fine. And this last section, which is 26 to 34, Krishna talks about worshipping Krishna directly, the glory of that. So this is the crux of the chapter, the most essential part of the chapter, 9.26 to 34. And therefore, the most important instruction of the Gita comes in this section, the last verse of this chapter. Here Krishna is going to talk about the glory of pure devotional service. Right? That's what he'll mention here. Right? Very interesting. The verses are there, very common verses. We know these verses a lot. Of them are memorized by us. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatat manaha. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. If one offers me with love and devotion, means by bhakti. Two times Krishna mentions bhakti here. Bhaktya and bhakti upahritam means offers with bhakti. Two times he mentions. That means he's telling that should be the main ingredient in the offering, not what we offer. That is not important. More important is bhakti. Of course, if one is doing it in bhakti, then that person will also offer that thing which is appropriate to be offered. Not that one will offer something which Krishna does not like. So one will offer what Krishna likes, but at the same time, the main intent is devotion. If one offers one with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Ashnami, I will eat it. I will accept it. Pradatmanaha. So Krishna says that I accept that thing. This is a very commonly recited verse. We tell that that's why we should offer Krishna Bhoga and we should honor Krishna Prasadam. Right? So Srila Prabhupada said in a lecture something very important. He said, prepare to love. If we want to transfer ourselves to that supreme planet, Krishna Loka, then we must prepare ourselves how to love Krishna. For we cannot claim any favor from the Supreme unless we are in love. It means if we are not in love with Krishna, we cannot also ask Krishna, Krishna, please take me back home, back to Godhead. Why? Because if we ask, why will Krishna listen to our prayer? He will listen to the prayer of those who love him. Hmm. Then only Krishna will say, okay, come, you can come to my place. Isn't it? You don't allow anyone to enter your house, no. You only allow those people to enter your house who love you. Or will you allow your enemy to also come to your house, come to my house and fight with me? You will not do that. So you will only allow a person who is close to you to come to your house and stay there. So why will Krishna let people in Golok Vrindavan? They don't have love for Krishna. So Prabhupada says, if we want to transfer ourselves to that planet, we must prepare ourselves how to love Krishna. For we cannot claim any favor. We cannot ask Krishna anything like that. Yeah, of course we can ask Krishna, give me a big car, lot of health. That is not a problem. But we cannot ask for a personal claim in the spiritual world unless we are in love. So we have to deal with God in that way. That's how we have to deal with Krishna. So the beginning is offering. We have to offer Krishna things with love. That is the beginning. Okay. So important lesson to love, what to speak of pure love, is the most difficult lesson to learn for those who only know the language of lust. Which means this idea of loving Krishna is not an easy concept to understand, because we are not used to it. We don't know what it means to love, and we also don't know what it means to be loved. Therefore, this is something which is very difficult to understand and realize. It is easy to say that I love Krishna, but actually it's not really meant like that. Hmm. So it takes a long time to learn this language of love. What we understand is the language of lust, not the language of love. Uh, so this is not easy. That's why Arjuna will say to Krishna, Patram Pushram Phalam Toyam. So simple. It is so simple. Just by doing this, one can achieve you. What if one does not have that simple love for you? Then what? So then Krishna will say, okay, if you don't have that love for me, then yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi tadasya yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushvamadarpanam. Then don't think about what I like, what I don't like. And whatever you want to offer to me, you offer. No problem. Let's start from there. You know. So that means what? Love means one should understand Krishna's mind and then offer to Krishna what one should Krishna will like. But if I say one does not understand Krishna's mind, then Krishna is saying, okay, fine. Whatever you understand is good, for me. I'm going to like, you offer to me. I'll accept it. It's no problem. So you start there, he says. So this love is very difficult, the simple love. Mm. There are four key lessons here in this verse. Uh, First, but devotion or bhakti is the main ingredient in any offering that we make to Krishna. Second, anyone can make an offering to Krishna because Krishna is not demanding for much. He is saying you can offer one flower, one fruit, one leaf, little water. Srila Prabhupada said in a class, even a poor person can offer all these things to Krishna. So anyone can make an offering to Krishna. Third, offering should be free from unnecessary violence. Oh, that means simple things, Krishna is saying. And fourth, Krishna is very grateful for anything we offer. Krishna is not demanding this fruit only I want. No, saying whatever you can offer, any fruit you offer to me. So Krishna is grateful for even small thing that we offer to Krishna. There's so many pastimes are there. Like the Sudama Brahmana, he offered 4 handfuls of chakras to Krishna. Something very insignificant. And Krishna was grateful, very grateful for that also, because it was offered with love. Hmm? So Krishna was very happy, very, very happy. Uh-huh. This is a very nice quote I found, very interesting. I liked it so much. He says, he who loves with purity considers not the gift of the lover, but the love of the giver. Hmm. That's a very nice statement. Thomas Kempis says, one who loves with purity considers not the gift of the lover, but the love of the giver. So what one is giving as gift, that is not so important. But the love of the giver is important. Like Sudama, the gift was very small, 4 handfuls of chipped rice. But the love of the giver, Sudama's love was very important for Krishna. So those who understand this loves with purity, for them this is more important factor. Purport, Dinanath Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. For the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In order to achieve a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness, the process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method and thus attain the highest perfectional life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non devotee. He is not in need of anything from anyone because he is self sufficient, and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection in life, highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti or devotional service is the only means to approach Krishna. No other condition, such as becoming a Brahmana, a learned scholar, a very rich man, or a great philosopher, can induce Krishna to accept some offering. Without the basic principle of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never casual. The process is eternal. It is direct action in service to the absolute whole. Here, Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what types of sacrifices he desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water to be given to him. And he says of this offering, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings and are prescribed by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we eat cannot be offered to him, since he will not accept it. Thus, we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if we offer such foods. In the third chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of material entanglement. Those who do not make any offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering, enable one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food since he already possesses everything that be. Yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving, and in offering is to act with the love of Krishna. The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. In the seventh chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so, in this instance, Krishna's hearing the devotees' words of love in offering foodstuffs is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized. Because of his absolute position, his hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna as he describes himself without interpretation can understand that the supreme absolute truth can eat food and enjoy it. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. So the main thing is it should be offered with love. That's the main thing, right? Prabhupada says in the purport, very interestingly, he points out, you see, he says, in this instance, Krishna is hearing the devotees' words of love in offering foodstuffs. That means when you're offering the foodstuff to Krishna, if we have love in our heart, or at least we can express that love through our speech, then that is sufficient for Krishna to accept that food. That is more important, you know. So the rituals are not very important, ringing the bell, or doing some mudras, or even chanting the Maha Mantra. What is more important is it should be done with love. I should chant the holy name with love, or I should pray to Krishna with love that please accept this food stuff that I have prepared for you. So it has to be done in that manner. Not that Krishna is hungry, okay, now I have to feed Krishna. Like, sometimes when a person is hungry, so uh, how do we feed that person? We keep the plate of food in front of that person and then we say, okay, now you're hungry, so eat it. Right? But it's not done with so much of love. It is done only as a matter of duty, isn't it? You have the experience of this or not? That someone can feed you as a matter of duty or someone can feed you out of love. Two are different things. You know? Like, a person is hungry at 9 a.m. in the morning, wants breakfast, then wants lunch at 2, and then wants dinner at 7. So you'll go to the kitchen, you'll make something, and then you put it on the plate and keep in front of the person and say, okay, you can eat it now. It's time for your breakfast. But then that can also be done in just a routine manner, not necessarily out of love, you know. But if you want to serve someone out of love, then you'll ask that person, what would you like to have in breakfast? You go to the kitchen in a very happy mood, then you make that preparation. And then when you bring that food in front of that person, then you very lovingly offer that to that person. And then you're waiting, should I serve something else? Should I make something more for you? So that is different. There you are not doing it only as a matter of formality or duty. So Prabhupada is saying one should offer bhoga to Krishna in that manner, not that, okay, Krishna, it's your time to eat now. Chalo, breakfast time, lunch time, dinner time. Ring the bell. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Come on, Krishna, eat. Then after you eat, we all eat. Prasadam. So that's not the way to offer to Krishna. You have to offer to Krishna out of love. Mm. That
But
feeling should be there. Then Krishna will accept it also. Because the
but
reason why this is important, because Krishna is not hungry like us. No, we are hungry. If we don't eat food, then we'll die. We'll become weak. But Krishna is not going to die if he doesn't get food.
uh, we can develop that love for Krishna by hearing and worshipping deity and chanting means all what we are doing is to develop love only, na?
You love to, you develop love for Krishna by hearing
Okay.
and serving.
Okay, serving more.
Right. Okay. So fine, we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Continue from verse 27 in the next class. There won't be a class tomorrow. We'll have a class next Saturday. If you have a question, you can ask, or else
Prabhu,
we'll
just
stop.
one question.
Hmm. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, what I wanted to ask was, I mean, somebody who's not in Krishna consciousness right now, but that person has very limited time. Like, I mean, he's in the last stage, I mean, a very critical disease or something like that. Then how do we help that person, Prabhu? Like, I mean, I just wanted to know that. I mean, um,
Does that
is it,
person does that person want your help? Is he or
yes,
she
Prabhu.
eager? Is he or she eager?
Yeah,
Yes or no? That yeah was not very
yes.
confident. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think so. I mean, from whatever I gather, that person is interested, at least
So if that
reading
person is
something.
interested and you can chant the holy name to that person.
Okay.
Yes, that's all you can do. You can, if that person is okay to eat prasadam, you can offer some prasadam. What else can you do? That's all. That there's nothing more powerful than the holy name. If that person takes the shelter of holy name in the right attitude, that's enough.
Okay.
Everything is there in the holy name.
Okay. So we just keep playing the holy name uh, near to
Yeah,
that
if
person.
that person cannot
Help
chant,
him
you
to.
play person for the person to hear, or you chant and let that person hear.
Okay.
Uh, Prabhuji, I have a question related to this. Earlier I were hesitant to ask. Uh, uh, um, like, like when I'm in immense pain, so I ask death from Krishna. I don't know it is right to speak in front of everyone. So is it right to pray for death or
You pray, but just because you're praying, don't think that death will come before the time it is supposed to come.
no? My mother says you are praying wrong. You should not pray to God like this.
Yeah, you should not pray, but even if you pray, it's not going to help because Krishna will not change the rules for you.
Death will come at a destined time only.
Yeah, it will come at that time only. Because you see, we have to understand certain things. There are certain things which Krishna can do, but Krishna will not do. And that doesn't make Krishna a cruel person. It's just that Krishna can't just think of you alone. Na? Krishna has to look at the entire universe, everyone around us. So let's say you are praying for death and your mother is praying for you not to die. Then Krishna is in a dilemma, no? So Krishna can't always just do the things the way we desire, because Krishna is not just your God, he's your mother's God also, right? Therefore, we have to understand many things. Many times we as practicing devotees don't understand certain ways, that we become too self-oriented. But Krishna, as the Supreme Bhagavan, he has to think from everyone's perspective, not just me, my alone perspective. It's because just like when you can understand these things easily when you become a manager, where you have to deal with, let's say, thousands of people at the same time. Then you make a rule for the benefit of all, and then sometimes you can break the rule for favoring a particular person, but still you'll not break that rule, because you understand, if I break this rule, then others will get disturbed by it, you know. So Krishna is also like that. So what is the point in praying to Krishna for death? I mean, what is so logical about it, or what is so, helpful about it? By praying like that, it's not Krishna is going to fulfill that prayer at first point. So it's like you're wasting your time asking for something which Krishna will not give. So what is the point in making such a prayer? Hmm?
Mm. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, done. Stop here. See you. Hare Krishna.